Yeah, sorry.
Whoa, this ain't one.
Down the side, and
But I appreciate everybody on the chat tonight for your comments. Well, hello, folks. We're glad to have you on the Bee Connection tonight. Hope to have a good conversation, and hopefully it's warmer than where you're at than where it is here, because it has been cold for a long time. Snow still in the yard, ice everywhere. It is definitely slick out there. Amber's been out of school an extra 2 weeks. And she's been on 2-hour delay all this week. So the weather has definitely been beating us up in their area. And of course, I've not done anything in my bee yard, but I have had a little bit of problems with my observation hive. And we're going to talk about that a little bit tonight. It's going to get really cold here next week. I'm talking like super cold, and maybe more snow. So it will definitely be a interesting next couple of weeks. So what's going on down your way, Spanky?
Oh, not too much. I think it got into the 50s today, but that second cold front's coming in, so
Yeah,
it's gonna lower the temperatures back.
it's definitely very, very cold. I tell you that. It doesn't feel like it's ever going to warm up. But I would rather it be cold all the way up until like March, and then just turn off pretty, and let's stop the freezing and that. Let the flowers bloom and let the bees get started. So for me, that would be the best thing. So Melissa, it looks like you're missing a sidekick there today. What's going on?
He ran off with JW.
Oh,
He left me for JW. It was bound to happen sooner or later.
Well, they definitely act like a couple the way they keep, yakking with each other. So
they're a mess. No, JW came by yesterday morning, I guess. Got here about around 8 o'clock or so and picked Tom up, and they're out of here. So they got down to Louisiana, I don't know, about 9, 10 o'clock last night. Had some dinner and met up with some people today and had some fun hanging out. I've got a lot of pictures and whatnot, and I think they're having a good time.
Yeah, I'd say with those two together, it's probably nonstop banter back and forth with each other. So
I'm sure.
Yeah, definitely interesting. Not to say the least, So
yeah, I was messaging with Jan earlier, Hancock, and I told her, I go, well, we'll see how long it takes before JW tosses Tom in the Lake Pontchartrain.
Yeah, that we definitely need some pictures of that. It looks like Lee may have a picture up for us right now. Let's see what he's got here.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. They also had Mr. Ed down there. That's right. Lee sent me some pictures. So I tell you what, them boys are into everything.
Yeah. So that's a picture of down at the Abbey. I think originally that was like a chicken run or a chicken coop or something like that. And now that's where Mr. Ed keeps all of his honey supers and his unused boxes and stuff, where he stores it all. Because it's all, it's all screened in, so critters can't get in there. And
yeah, that's the peacock house.
Yeah, peacocks. That's right. Yeah. I knew it had something to do with birds.
Yep. if you ever hear him talk about the Abbey, that's one of the things he talks about is how it's all set up there and how he changed stuff and how he kind of, what is the word he said? He did it without asking permission, but it's better to ask for forgiveness later or something like that. So
Something
Yeah.
like that.
He just kind of slowly took over parts of the Abbey for the bee operation that weren't being used by anything else.
yeah, and to hear
Oh,
Mr. Ed
there's Joey.
yeah, there is Joey with him. Look at that. I tell you what,
Yeah.
they had this big meeting and didn't invite any of us. I tell you.
No. I was going to try to get him to stop by my house on the way back, and I looked on a map. Man, I'm way out of the way.
Oh man,
It's a straight shot south,
Really?
basically along the Mississippi River for them.
Yep,
Like.
we just go straight south. I think Joey's son was there also. From what, so there was another picture and there was somebody in it. I'm like, who's that? And he's like, oh, that's Joey's son. I'm like, oh, okay.
Cool.
wow, that'd be really cool to be with that group, hanging out and talking to them. That's for sure. So, Brad, what's going on in your area? Just lots of snow?
Just this cold white stuff. It's actually really nice right now. I mean, nice for here, but it might be nice for there too. You were saying how cold and snowy it was. -2 C right now, so it's probably about 30 F.
Yeah,
which pretty nice for January. I worked outside most of the day.
Wow. Yeah,
So,
well, that's about what it was here. I think our highs was probably right at 0 C or 32.
yeah,
here.
you guys have been having terrible weather, haven't you?
Yeah, it's just we just keep getting blasted from up there in Canada. They just keep coming down. So
Well, it's not from Canada. Canada's much nicer than what you have.
I think you're sucking all that warm air up there, Brad.
And for some sins somewhere.
Yeah.
I think today was the nicest day. It was like 45 today. I went out and delivered some honey and stuff, and it was really nice outside. I'm like, oh, this is amazing.
It was above freezing here yesterday.
Wow.
But it's going to get cold again over the next couple of days. We're going to be getting a storm from the west, so some pretty high wind and whatnot. It's called an Alberta Clipper. They usually last, I don't know, 30 hours, 48 hours, perhaps. So, it's just a time to work indoors, hunker down, and not have to go anywhere. That's just the plan.
Yeah.
I got lots of work to do in the shop.
Yeah. That's what I was about to say, Brad, is it's a good time to work on your bee equipment and get things put together and, get ready for spring if you can get your shop warm enough. So,
my shop's plenty warm. That's my shop is probably insulated better than my house.
Oh gosh.
Well, we built that shop in, I think it was 2012. We built that building, and it's 6-inch walls, and it's really nicely insulated and well heated. Of course, that's common for here.
Yeah.
Our buildings are quite. I noticed that folks, warmer climates, when they have an outbuilding or something, they talk about it being cold or hard to heat or something because it's not worth it to put a lot of money into insulation and whatnot. I mean, it costs money to insulate, but when it's 30 below outside, you need a good thick insulated wall. It costs a lot anyway. That building.
How do you heat the shop, Brad? Is it?
It's all electric heat.
All electric. Okay.
It's got a combination of a hydronic floor. It's called the water lines in the concrete, and I've got a electric space heater in there too. If I open the doors, the air cools off, and then I can turn that space heater on and bring it back up again a little bit. But a cold month, it'll cost me $400.
Yeah.
So do you guys use wood heat up there in your area, Brad, or is it you guys?
Some people do.
Okay.
Yeah, some people do. I actually installed a wood stove in that building, but they won't let me use it because it's a wood shop. It's not safe to use in a wood shop. So I have a wood stove in there that could save me $1,200 a year, but I can't use it. And I got a big pile of wood out back that I could use too. So,
So you
it's
can't
too bad.
use it in
And
that shop.
I just keep doing this instead of using the wood stove. Yeah, it's too bad, but
What'd you say, Spanky?
Oh, I said so they won't let you use it within that shop because of the wood.
Yeah, wood dust is explosive.
Well, why don't you just make a small second outbuilding on one of the walls of that building and do what you've done with the floor, but just along the upper parts of your building with water.
Or you could just have a fan that blows in there.
I think
So
some of the heaters
put up
here.
another building I can have a wood stove in.
Yeah. And
I know.
have a fan to blow it into your
Well,
shop.
don't
Yeah.
you worry. I've gone around and around the plans to use that thing.
Well,
But
around here they have the big stoves that are outside, and
makes sense.
they can run water inside the house. So
yeah,
they're really nice,
hmm
and then you don't have all that smoke in your house. So
then you got to go run out in the yard at 30 below.
that's the hard part.
Shove more cordwood in that thing.
Just go in there on your
Yeah.
way back from the outhouse.
Yeah. Outhouse. We do have indoor plumbing. So
Yeah. So Philip, how warm is your bed? I will say my shop it stays cold. I mean, we have kind of what you guys said. We've got a stove in the opposite room that blows heat through a vent into the building. But how warm do you keep your shop? Do you heat it with wood, electric? What you got?
No, I had an electric heater that's terrible. It's really old, but I also have one of those electric oil filled heaters. It's like a radiant type.
Mhm.
That thing does really good. So that's what I'm using right now. I usually keep that at my office to warm my office, so I don't have to run the heat too much. But I've decided to leave it out here in my shed because I can go out there and kick it on high and then come in the house and make some tea and sit down for 10, 15 minutes, and it's bearable when I get back out there. So it's sort of insulated, but the doors are not insulated, and it's like a third of the front one wall. So it doesn't hold heat very well. Plus, I have to open the doors a lot sometimes to run boards across my table saw and stuff like that. It's a real small shop. It's only 14 by 16.
Yeah, it makes it rough. So I got a question for you guys, and maybe Lee will bring a picture up. The observation hive inside the house. I guess it was probably Saturday. I looked inside. There's about 12 wax moths in there right now, and I don't know what to do. So I was going to ask everybody's opinion. What y'all think I should do? Should I, take those combs out? Should I,
you can access it, right?
Yeah,
I can access it. Yes. Yeah.
So you could open it up and spray those combs with that BT. BT is a larvicide, so it's not going to kill the wax moths, but once the larvae hatches and starts eating, it will kill the larva. So you could get some BT, mix it up, and spray it with BT.
Okay.
That's going to be hard to get it down in the cell.
So is that something? Where do I find that at?
Daydon and Man Lake sell it. I mean, most beekeeping stores will. It's not the cheapest stuff, but it'll work.
What about that Paramount? Is that what it's called?
I'd stick some
repel them.
That just repels, and if he's already got larvae in there, I don't know.
That Paramount will kill them.
Does that kill the adults?
Oh, it'll kill everything in there.
Yeah.
There won't be an ant. There won't be anything in there.
Yeah.
But then you have to think too. If you put that Paramoth in there, that scent is
in my
going to
house.
permeate.
Is it going to affect my family while I'm here?
Well, it's going to make your house stink like Paramoth.
It is a bit of a nasty chemical.
Just leave the door open, Ricky. You'll be all right.
Personally, I would spray. I would either eliminate the comb or I would spray it with BT. That's what I would do.
Yeah, BT would probably be a little safer because it's a what do you call? It's not a chemical thing. It's
what?
Like a fungicide, or it's like a fungus or something like that. Yeah, it's not a synthetic, really.
What
and the BT? Yeah, and it. You say, well, it's not cheap, and it's not, but the shelf life is excellent on it.
That's what we use on all
the stuff
of
that
our
I bought has no date on it. It doesn't say, expires such a date.
Yeah,
it's not hard to store at room temperature.
So I don't know what happened to Ricky.
Hygienic
He's,
boost.
he's probably
Uh,
going to get a better view of that.
Yeah,
Oh,
Todd's
yeah,
been
probably.
testing
Todd,
this hygienic boost stuff. It
I haven't
repels
looked
them.
into that too much yet, Todd.
So well, I was going to ask Ricky, is that hive vented to his house or?
It
It's
is.
not. I don't think it's vented to his house, but I think it's just plexiglass that he's got there, and I don't think it's like completely sealed. Like it's
Yeah,
It
not.
wasn't
And-
vented when he first put it in, but he had problems with, I want to say,
Some moisture
humidity.
problems, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah. There he is.
All right.
Let's
Yeah.
ask him.
If it's vented, Ricky, I would, if you're going to want to use the paramoth, I would just tape over the vents. I think you'd be fine. I keep stacks of supers inside the cabin at the farm and with paramoth on them, and heck, I sleep in there. I don't think I have any. I don't think I have any side
No
effects.
issues.
I do have
Want
one
a second
little bit
opinion,
at the
Phil?
top.
I hadn't noticed anything out of the ordinary.
Yeah. What's the prescribed withdrawal period for that the moth crystals that you talk about, the paradichlorobenzene?
It works until they dissolve completely and dissipate. Then,
But
you need,
I mean, when you use it, there's a withdrawal period, right, where you have to remove it and allow it to
yes,
air out before you can use the equipment.
they recommend 3 days, but I've found that 1 day tends to be pretty. It's not going to kill your
Okay.
bees if 1
Because
day.
it's not approved in Canada, so I'm not that
Right.
familiar with it.
It airs out. Once you air it out, I mean, the wax moths will let you know if you let it go 3 days without something in there.
We have this thing called winter.
Yeah.
They don't survive.
And those wax moths got in that thing, Ricky, and said, "Wow, we've got a place to spend winter."
Yep.
Yeah, well,
Well,
that's the thing is they
A
wasn't
buffet.
nothing in there about 3 weeks ago, and then all suddenly, there's wax moths in there. So sometime during one of the warm ups that we had here, somehow I got one in there, and I'm assuming that they laid eggs, and I think I've got some larvae in there right now. So I'm not very happy.
BT's your choice then.
Okay.
Kill
So
them.
we've
Yeah.
never used paramoth because neither one of us liked the smell of it, and we didn't want to mess with it. So we've just always used the BT. And honestly, this year we didn't put anything on our supers or anything because they never got stored. They're still sitting outside on Tom's trailer, all stacked nicely. So the cold weather is keeping our combs
Yeah, the cold weather.
preserved this year.
And that's the problem with being in the house here, right? It's warm in here, so
Mhm.
I can't rely on that colony to get cold enough to kill those wax moths off or to get rid of them from hibernating. And Keith Spillman has asked what happened to the bees. They actually swarmed out late season, and there's actually a queen cell hanging from one of the combs, and that queen never came back. So they just slowly dwindled away to nothing. So hopefully it'll be a good swarm trap in the spring, and I can get it repopulated pretty quick. So that's what I'm hoping for.
Did a swarm move in before?
No, I have loaded it twice since I've had it, and when you've got a colony that you're not doing any treatments on it, or just letting it do its thing.
Right.
You're just biting the bullet before it finally dies off, I think.
I would put some like craft paper or something over the glass if you want a swarm to move in. I don't think they're going to move in with the light coming in from your house.
That's a good idea.
It needs to be dark, I think. And that's my opinion.
Yeah, I think somebody had mentioned that once before. Maybe it's DC when they were dwindling down. I couldn't figure out what was going on with them. He thought maybe so.
Of course, when they move in, rip it down real fast and video it. That'll be cool to
Well,
see.
I want to be able to. I want to videotape with a swarm going in there. I think it would be really cool. So that's the problem.
Once they commit to it, they'll probably be all right.
Yeah, you're right.
But
you're right.
The scout bees, I would imagine, would have a little bit of an issue with the glass and the light coming through it.
Yep. Trust me, they're pretty rowdy when you're sitting here on your recliner, and a swarm coming in would be very loud. So it wouldn't take me a second to know what was going on. Especially looking out the outside window there. So it'd be really
Do you have
cool
a little
to see
camera on there at all?
I haven't put one up there, but I'd like to have one up there that I could just videotape and just watch it. So I just go and take a picture about 2 or 3 days at a time, and I need to put a video out of watching it grow, but I haven't done that yet. So
I've used these little Wise cameras, and they're they're a little goofy, but they work pretty good, and they're very inexpensive. They're like,
okay,
I don't know, for you guys are 20-30 bucks or something, and there's Wi-Fi, and then you buy an SD card for it, and you put the SD card in it. It'll record like a dash cam,
okay,
and then so it'll record certain number of many days. I think a month or two, and then you can capture that and then take that
wow.
SD card and get your video as a
So you could
suggestion.
set it to come on every once in a while and take some photos or some video, and then it'll shut itself back off. Is that how that works?
It'll video. There's different modes you can use. Typically, it's it records 100% of the time.
Okay.
So you could through the app, then you can zero in on what time you want to look at,
Mm-hmm.
and then you can download those video clips from it
Okay.
and splice them together for whatever you want to do.
Awesome. Well, hopefully my wife's listening to me on here, and she knows that I'm going to get a new toy here in the next couple of weeks.
I don't know if you remember a couple of times I've put footage from my Wise Cam on my channel where
Uh-huh.
that time I fell on the ice, I fell down on the ground. That's my little Wise Cam looking
Okay.
outside. So it's pretty good quality.
Wow. That's awesome. So up in your area, Brad, do you get a lot of swarms up there where you're at, or you guys get any?
We mostly produce swarms.
Okay.
We don't catch them. No, we don't
All
catch
right.
them because there's really not a lot of feral colonies out here.
Okay.
Because it's not very common that they survive. I mean, we can't keep the bees we manage alive, but yeah, we don't have colonies living in trees year after year after year. I won't say that it's never happens, but it's not very common.
Okay.
So no, we don't have. I'm very jealous of people in warmer climates. They say, "I'm going to get some bees," and they put up a few swarm traps, and suddenly you got a half a dozen colonies of bees. No, that's not a thing here, really, unless you put your swarm trap up like near my apiary in the summer, and then you'll get free bees, right?
I think you're a little far away, so I may not be able to put a trap up there where you're at.
Yeah.
So I'd like to know how many people on the chat actually try to catch swarms. That would be pretty cool to see the people that. Let's see, we got 69 on here. It'd be pretty cool to see who all try to grab a swarm. If you'll put swarm on there, I'll try to count them as they pop up here. I'd like to see how many people try to catch them. I used to. I got a little lazy this year. I didn't really try to catch any, but I did get a few to come in, a few dead outs that I had, which was pretty cool. So
Tom always puts swarm traps up, but then never remembers to go and check them.
well, hey, they'll be there. They're not going anywhere, right, until they get too big.
Right.
So now, Spanky, you caught a few swarms this year. Is that correct?
Yeah, I normally catch one or two around the house. I'll have some hives out there I bait. So it's normally one or two that come in.
And I think, Philip, you catch swarms. Is that not correct?
Yeah, I caught like 16 or 17 last year.
That's right.
So,
You was using the stuff that Bob has, right?
No, I used just lemongrass oil.
Oh, you
That's all
okay?
I used. And then I put wax and propolis inside it, and I use an old comb, stuff like that. But yeah, I have a whole bunch of swarm traps that I hang up. I probably have, I have like 20 swarm traps, and I hang about 13 of them at a time.
And how many of them do you hang around your own property, and how many do you hang away from where you're at?
I hang out at the farm all but one of them is on my property. One's down the street at the neighbor's house, and then Here, I just have 3 here in Capel. One of them's down the street, about 5 houses, and one's about a quarter mile away, or 2 of them are quarter mile away, different directions. But the one that was closest last year, I usually catch 1 or 2 in it, but I didn't catch any in that one last year. But I did catch 1 in. I only caught 1 swarm here in Capel last year. Yeah, the rest of them were caught at the farm. That
So
was
let
at my
me ask you,
grandmother's house.
let me ask you a question. With that many swarm traps that you got, is there one that you catch more swarms out of? Because I've got one box that seems to catch. I don't know why. It always seems like that box catches a swarm versus any of my other equipment that I put out.
Well, all of mine are the same, other than the color of the little entrance disc. So I wouldn't say I couldn't tell the difference, but I do have 1 or 2 locations that I put them that catch 2 or 3 a year.
Okay.
And it was one of them's on a tree on a big sort of it's kind of just a wide open area among trees, with a kind of a flyway type thing. But it's also kind of tucked back underneath it's mounted on an elm tree, and it's got limbs overhanging it too. So they do have to kind of get in there and find it. It's not right out on the edge. But they've caught at least 2 in that one every year. I've got another one that overlooks a pond that does real good too.
Yeah, I think I've got one that Ruth and Amber painted flowers on it, and I don't know if it's the flowers. I won't say that it is, but it's got to be something to do with that beautiful artwork. That it seems like it catches more bees. I don't know why, but it does seem like it does. But I usually put that one in the same yard, and then I do catch them out of that same spot. So, but Melissa, how's your the swarm that was in the tree, the one that was floating in the top of the trees?
That open air one?
Yes,
we have not, since the last time that Tom showed you all pictures of it, we haven't been back to that yard. So my guess is it's probably not there anymore. Just because we've just had some bitter cold and that sleet and snow, and there was a couple of really good rainstorms. Well, from the hurricane stuff, we got pretty good rain from that. I would be extremely surprised if they're still there hanging around. So we haven't been in the bees like at all. Well, this year yet, honestly. Tom had planned to go out to the yards at the end of this week to start doing some OA treatments again, but then he decided to go run off and have fun down in the south. So he'll do that next week. But yeah.
So Brad, have you ever seen an open air colony where you're at up there?
I have not one that goes beyond a season for sure.
Okay.
It was 2 seasons ago. I had a colony take up under one of the pallets that you see in my yard. I have stacks of pallets as a wind block. One of them had taken up in under the top of one of the pallets. I actually cut it out and got it in a box. I went over there to look at it. It was just the right size for a 10-frame box. So I took my little saw and I cut the top of the pallet out, put it over into a box, and unfortunately, I didn't expect it to survive. It didn't have, it was pretty well established, but it wasn't a full-on colony, and it didn't survive. Of course, almost nothing survived last year for me. So that's really the only time I've had one up here.
So is that common for you guys to lose all your bees up there, or most of your bees? I mean, just with the cold weather you guys have?
Seems like it's getting a little too common.
Oh, really? So you're
We're
looking at doing
hearing,
something like Ian does and putting them into the buildings then?
well, I've been wintering indoors for
Okay.
8 or 9 years now. And indoors really doesn't change your wintering statistics all that much. It's more just a management thing, what you choose to do as a beekeeper. It doesn't make a huge difference as far as survivorship goes. And we're hearing stories. I mean, I'm director on different boards and whatnot, and we're hearing stories all over Canada and US as well that the losses are just tremendous. there's a lot of discussion going on as to what's happening. There's a lot of guesses that maybe there's new viruses going around or new synergies happening or something. It's quite discouraging.
So is that to do with the mites, or is this something new that you're talking about?
Well, it'll be a virus vectored by the mites for sure.
Okay.
Right. And it seems to be like these viruses, when you get mites in your hives, and everybody, pretty much everybody has mites, and they vector viruses to your bees, and the viruses actually take up on the comb as well in the equipment. So that's a difficult thing to deal with, because how do you get rid of the viruses? We don't really have a lot of methods, whether you want to talk about treatments or products or whatever. We're always talking about mites. How do you treat for mites? How do you get rid of the mites? And what we have really isn't all that good anyway. But we really never talk about viruses, right? And viruses are what's killed the bees. The mites are kind of, they don't do the bees any good, but it's not what's killing the bees. It's the viruses. And yeah, it's kind of a mystery right now. We're kind of living CCD all over again.
I think we're going to find out in about a month how bad it is, because
we will find out in about a month, and I don't think it's going to be very good for the almond industry at all.
Yeah, when the almond
is indications. I'm not wishing that. I'm not wishing that at all. But
Right.
indications are it's going to be difficult.
I think it was Zach Lamas. Was it the spring or the summer? Tom and I went to a different club meeting, and they were doing a Zoom meeting with Zach Lamas, and he's out of, well, I think he's out of Florida, like that's where he went to school, but he's from up where in the Northeast. Anyway, he was talking about mites and viruses and stuff like that, and it was very, I found his talk to be very doom and gloom, and I was kind of disappointed because I really wanted to see him speak. And anyway, he was kind of talking about mites, and like, even if you have a low mite load, the larvae that are getting bitten by mites already, they're carrying those viruses, and then they're the worker bees, when they hatch and whatnot, they're feeding the new larvae, and they're just spreading those viruses. So it's like almost impossible. Basically, his doom and gloom was it's almost impossible to get rid of the viruses, because they're just spreading and spreading and spreading. Even if you've only got a low mite load, it's real. That one bee is feeding, how many larvae, how many hundreds of times a day. So it was very,
and
it was a very depressing talk.
Even the equipment, Megan Caldwell under Dr. Curry did the research virus on comb, and they had such a hard time. They tried everything to reduce or kill the virus on the combs, and they really didn't find anything but time would kill the virus on the combs. Well, how do you do that when you have a live colony? You can't take all of your bees, put them in brand new equipment, and let the old equipment sit there for a year while the viruses die off.
Right.
Well, the black moths will take care of it for you in the meantime, right? So yeah, it was. And I was talking to Dr. Curry last fall and asked him about that, and yeah, he just said there didn't seem to be any. I mean, they even tried, radiation didn't seem to do a whole lot. So it's difficult once the viruses kind of get in there and get a hold. They're in the bees, they're in the equipment. It's
That's
tough.
one of the things, like what Melissa was talking. I'm sorry, Brad. One of the things that Melissa's talking about, when we had the bee classes for beginners, and about middle ways through, and they heard about all the viruses and stuff, that we had people quit in the class saying, "I can't keep these bees alive. No, there's just too much to do with them." And most people think you can just put these bees in a box and they'll live, and that it's not always
1975. You could.
Yeah, exactly.
I know my sister-in-law, this was before Tom and I even got into beekeeping, and I didn't know she had actually taken a class to get into beekeeping, her and her friend. And once they started learning about mites, they're like, we're out.
I'm sorry, Brad.
There-
Go ahead with what you were saying there,
Well,
sir.
I don't want to give anybody false hope because I think this would be a long ways off. I don't know if they're even working on it. I was listening to a presentation by Dalen, the people who have that queen.
Mhm.
It's commonly called a vaccine. It's not a vaccine, but for AFB that they give the queens. Now, the question came up: would this work for viruses? And theoretically, yes, it can. So, really, perhaps that's an avenue forward. You know, maybe a little bit expensive to inoculate queens with all of these things, but if you need to spend an extra $10 on a queen to give you that longevity and survivorship, then maybe that's what it's going to take. I don't know. But I
Yeah.
mean, that's something that we can hope for, right? At least there's something. We're not just dead in the water, perhaps, but it's quite a conundrum.
It definitely ain't looking good for the honeybee. I tell you, it seems like everything is trying to kill it. I mean, everything out there. I mean,
Yep.
It's like they don't even have a chance, And like you said back, 1975, I can remember my grandfather's hives and stuff, and they didn't do anything. It was just go rob the honey and let the bees do their thing, and no one really cared. Just go get the honey when you wanted it. So
Bees are so healthy that they actually used sodium cyanide to kill the colonies when it was time. It's like now, if you want to kill a colony, well, just wait. Just wait.
Yep.
It'll die.
Yep.
Right? It's quite a different game.
So you mentioned not having many options. All the way back in 2018, so about 7 years ago, a scientific report came out where Paul Stamets and somebody else was testing the effectiveness of different mushroom extracts in the colony, and they
Yep.
found that this reduced different viruses in the hive, such as deformed wing and Lake virus, in a dose-dependent manner. Now, to my knowledge, nothing else has come out of that, but that is something.
Yeah, I've seen that data, and there was different things tested, and one of them was birch sawdust, and the mushrooms are about as effective as birch sawdust in the data. So I don't know. I don't know if maybe we, like you say, what's come of it in 7 years. I remember that there was a lot of noise about that. Wow, savior of the bees, and there's nothing I've ever seen.
Well, you'd have to have a lot of money to get into that. Those mushrooms aren't cheap.
Well, there's lots of trees around here. There's got to be mushrooms in there if they want mushrooms. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the answers are. It's a struggle.
what do you think about it, Philip? Do
Well,
you think we'll ever get the bees where they need to be at?
yeah, I don't know. I mean, I haven't had high losses, but I don't know. The bees may be affected because I don't make very much honey either. But I am going to try to get some more youthful queens going this year. That's what I'm going to try for. But now I have been really poor at keeping up with the mites and getting them knocked back at the farm. Here, I'm pretty happy with the way they are here at my house, but we'll see. I only got like 2 or 3 OAV treatments, and I got one of them at the time when they would be mostly broodless, and I'm like 2 weeks behind. I wish I'd gotten out there, but I think right now some of the mites right now are probably below capping. So I think right now is about when, if the queen started laying at the solstice, start getting a little bit, a place to hide. But I'm going to have the bee inspector. I'm meeting the bee inspector tomorrow at 3:00 to go through some hives. So I'll get to see what's in there. It's going to be 63, but the wind is supposed to be 20 to 30 miles per hour. So that ought to be fun.
It'd be pretty cool to have an inspector to come out and just kind of give you some information about your hives. Has any of you guys used this Easy Oxy tabs? And what y'all think about it?
I haven't used them. Brian said he used them today, and they were easy though.
What about you, Brad? Have you used those before?
No, I haven't. I know Ian tested something a couple of years ago, but and I think they work really well, and I kind of wanted to try them, but now my vaporizers have that dispenser that I can just put in the crystals, so I really don't think there's any point to couple the two methods.
Yeah, you got to drop those into that to put them in.
Yeah, and then you got to slam the lid on it, and
yeah,
I don't think it would, But if I was still using my old ProVap, for example, I used that thing for years. These tablets really would be handy for that.
Yeah,
because I waste a lot. I'm getting a little spoon and I'm putting in a little cup, and then I'm putting a thing in there. There's oxalic acid everywhere. I'm not too much worried about it because it's cheap, right? But still, the little tablets would be handy for sure.
Yeah, I'm like you, Brad. I lose
liked
a lot of my stuff.
What's that?
I lose a lot of my oxalic acid. Putting in little cups, and I have it all top of my beehives, and each the metal on the top's just a little bit. Gives a nice little white corrosion on it. So. And
with those dispensers, I think I waste a lot less because the only time I waste it really is if I push it in there, pull it out, and then I go to put it in the tool and I bang it on something, then the crystals will fall out. But otherwise, I don't think I waste very much now with those dispensers. I don't think that dispenser is ever going to pay for itself because it's way too expensive. But because oxalic acid is super cheap, I'd have to waste about 10 pounds of oxalic acid to save that much money.
Well, that plunger is like, what, $50 or something like that?
Oh, wow.
It's a lot more here.
Oh,
yeah.
Hey, Ricky,
next time you come down, Brad, you need to buy you a few of them and take them back home with you.
I think when I bought my spare dispenser for my Instant Vap compact last fall, it was near $100.
Was it really? Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
That's
52. Yeah, I thought it was around $50.
Yeah.
So what usually goes wrong with that to cause it not to work anymore? Is it the spring breaks in it, or just
We haven't had anything go wrong with it.
I haven't either.
Tom just wanted an extra one so he could have one loaded, and
Yeah,
Okay.
That's why I had extra. There's an O-ring at the top, and when I bought my Instant Vaps, there was a couple of spare O-rings in there.
Yeah.
So you could replace that O-ring. And I think I watched a video one time. A guy was saying that he washed it really good when he was done and just put a little bit of oil in it or something. But I'm not advocating that because that might screw it up. But I think he was lubricating it a little bit.
A little olive oil wouldn't probably hurt it at all. So
yeah, I don't know. I think the only issue you might run into is just some kind of a buildup over time. If the oil residue stayed on there and then it gets hot, you know what happens when you get oil hot? It polymerizes, right? So then you get a film that's really not going to come off of the tool properly at all. So I don't know. I haven't had a problem with mine yet, but they're fairly new.
I know, you have to watch out too with that loose OA. Sometimes it gets too dry and it won't hold into the plunger. So sometimes you have to mist that OA a little bit and kind of shake it up to dampen it, because it does have to have a little bit of moisture. You don't want it wet. It just needs to be able to stick to each other.
I just put a bottle cap. I was having that exact problem because I had a brand new container of OA. It was nice and dry, wouldn't stick in there at all. So I had my bottle of water I just used for washing, and I just put a bottle cap in it's about a 2-pound container is what I'm using. So I just put a bottle cap in there. It's perfect.
Yeah. I just use a little spray bottle and spritz some water in there until we can get it the right tackiness.
So, hey, Ricky, did you see
Randy,
Todd's?
O-ring grease.
Did you see Todd's question about the trophy mic?
The
I did
tropical
not.
mite.
No.
Yeah, he was asking what viruses they vector. I heard Dr. Peck in his interview with that young man from Auburn say that he said they're seeing the exact same viruses as the Varroa spread. They haven't found anything new.
Yeah, that was my understanding too. It's just that this particular mite moves a lot faster and spreads. It doesn't just bite the larvae once. I think it bites it multiple times. So there's like a few different, why it's a little bit
Yes.
more severe.
Yes.
But
So where's
It
it
doesn't
located
spend
at?
time outside the cell.
yes,
They're always under the caps, and so they're almost impossible to kill. Formic acid will kill it,
mm-hmm.
and on that, I cited Megan Caldwell's work. I don't think she tested formic acid. There's something in the back of my head that says formic acid will kill viruses. So I begged Nod to test that because they sell formic acid, right? And I believe they have somebody working on that test to see if formic acid kills viruses on comb. So I'm really, really hoping that it does, because that'll be about all we have working for us.
Yeah, I'll tell you what I plan to do if they get here is we have a dearth in July and August, and the bees go broodless or nearly broodless.
Yep.
What I plan to do is go through my colonies, and take out any brood at all, freeze it to kill everything, and do an OAV treatment when there's no cappings. That's just in my mind as the way I want to handle it when it
That's
comes.
effective. That's effective.
Hey, Todd, I do know that Earl Hoffman is planning to talk a little bit about tropy when he's here in St. Louis here in February. So since you're coming in, you'll be able to ask him some questions about it.
Yeah, I'm kind of interested in hearing about this. That's the first time I've heard about this tropical mite, so this is kind of interesting. So,
well, it's not it's tropy alap. Tropy.
Okay.
Alaps. Tropy. Yeah.
Laps.
Yeah, that word. It's just
That's
easy
why I
to
call
say
it trophy mite.
Tropy mite.
Hippopotamus.
Yeah, exactly.
Say hippopotamus.
Tropilalaps.
Tropilalaps.
It's one of those words that I can't pronounce unless I'm looking at it.
The thing about it though is I think we'll all be able to say it soon enough.
Yeah, unfortunately.
I don't look forward to that.
Oh man, neither do I.
So Melissa, let everybody know when that conference is coming up. Give a little shout out here for it.
If nobody's heard about this conference yet, so our local bee club, the Eastern Missouri Beekeepers Association, is having a workshop on February the 8th. It's a one-day workshop. It's separated beginners and experience. We've got 18 vendors that are going to be there. Some of them are offering pre-order deals right now. Blue Ridge Honey Company will be there because Bob Binney will be speaking, Natalie will be speaking, Corey Stevens, Earl Hoffman, and Jim Masucci. Hillco will be there, Blue Ridge Honey Company, Nature's Image Farm will be there, Motherload, Comfort Pro Suits, 21st Bees, who he made his debut at Nobby. He'll be there with his new frame system. Lots of vendors. We are actually having a honey show also. So if you're coming or you just want a honey show experience, come so you can enter a honey show and get some experience. And if you really want to get into the honey show and find out more about it, the day before we are hosting the Honey Show Training Council. They're putting on a one-day class. And then we have a banquet afterwards. Yep, there's some of our vendors. And we've still got vendors calling us wanting to get in, but we're full. So they're just sending us donations for raffles and door prizes, which is absolutely amazing. And we appreciate it so much. But yeah, if anybody's interested in coming, we'd love to see everybody there. On February 7th is the training council. And then the 8th is the workshop.
And JW will be there signing autographs, right?
JW will be there signing anything you want him to sign.
Awesome.
Brian Zavada from Flower Street Farms will be there. Todd from Loma Vista will be there. Ricky, you're coming?
I'm there.
Ricky's coming. I think Dad House is coming. He's on here tonight, I believe. Not really sure. Oh, Matt Sandy Valley. I'm pretty sure he's coming too. If not, we'll have to guilt him into it.
Just remember now, guys, I'm coming all the way from North Carolina. So anybody in the path that wants to go, I'll be glad to pick you up on the way.
Yep, Ricky can pick you up along the way.
Swing a little south and pick me up, Ricky.
All right.
Where in North Carolina, Ricky, are you?
So we're in the most northwestern county of North Carolina. So if you look at that map, as it comes up with the mountains, we're at the very top of the mountains. I'm like probably 10 minutes from Mountain City, 30 minutes from Virginia, and I think West Virginia maybe an hour away from that. So we can, I can be down at Bob's place down there in South Carolina probably in 2 hours. So yeah, I'd be at Bob Benny's place pretty close too. So
I visited a friend down there a number of years ago in Pittsburgh.
Okay.
But that's east.
Yep.
So I mean, I've been in that area, but
you see right there where Lee's doing a little circle at. That's where we're at.
Well, yep. He took me for the day over to Charlotte, so that's all I've seen. Of course, it was a fly in, fly out. So I always like to drive somewhere because I get a better perspective of where that is. You get in an airplane, they could take you anywhere and say, yeah, this is North Carolina. And, I was going to say, but meanwhile, you're in Texas. But if you're in Texas, you know you're in Texas. Right?
I don't know if I'll take the wife or not, So we'll take
you just have to listen to somebody talk, and you're in Texas.
See, that's the thing I tell my wife is like when we go to these conferences and stuff, it's like this is her vacation because she always wants me to talk to her. Right, I'm in the truck, so there's no way getting away from her. So I actually have to sit there and listen. So
there's no way to get away from her.
No way to get
you realize she's on here and she can hear you, right?
Yeah, I'll pay for that one tonight. I'm sure. What did Keith say? Mike Berry he just posted the video. There it is.
They showed up at the bee meeting.
That's awesome.
So their club meeting is on Thursdays, yeah. So I just sent it till.
Wow, the Dirt Rooster even made it over.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mark Miller. Just look for the man in overalls. I'll be there.
Well, I saw JW had overalls on in his pictures there.
That too, yeah.
Yep.
So, Spanky, it looks like you got some pictures up here of something.
There's the meeting picture right there.
Oh, that's the meeting picture. Yeah.
There's Dirt Rooster back there and Elizabeth and Mr. Ed and Joey. And then they made Tom and JW sit all the way over here. They must have been causing trouble.
Put them in the corner, didn't they, Melissa?
Yep. Where they belong, those two.
They're a little bit like when you catch a swarm and you have to put it in a different area and make sure it's not diseased. The little quarantine corner over there.
Yep, quarantine corner.
So Spanky, I'm sorry, you got a picture up here. Let me see. There we go.
Oh, yeah.
There you go.
There's a trophy mite right there.
Yeah, there's Varroa, and there's a trophy mite.
That's a male. That's a male Varroa, isn't it?
No, it's a trophy. It's got that teardrop shape.
Yeah. The body shape. Body shape.
Right. You're right.
So you can see the size difference.
Where's that picture from?
It's about a third the size of a.
It's a third, yeah.
It is from, let's see, beaware.org.
And that's going to be hard to see, especially if it's kind of clear like that.
It says they're like a millimeter. So I hope you can spot a millimeter running around.
Wow.
And also, I mean, I've gotten used to spotting Varroa just by the shape of them more than
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Every once in a while, there's a little drip of something that looks just like it, but if you try to move it with your finger, it sticks to the bottom board, so you know, okay, that's not a Varroa. But they'll always move.
So I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt the conversation here, but if you see Ruth's comments there, so we was in the truck and we were sitting there, and I said, she got kind of quiet. I said, you don't want to talk to me no more. And I had brought a set of earplugs with me, and I am back videotaping this, and she's like, well, what do you want to talk about? I said, oh, you don't want to talk? I just stuck the earplugs in my ears. Oh my gosh, she absolutely went furious trying to get those earplugs out of my ears.
And you thought that would go a different way.
Well, I videoed it just in case she killed me, so that they knew what
just
happened.
so the coroner would have something to look at. Eh?
Yeah.
So Ricky, there was this man that he got pulled over by the police, and he got pulled over, and he said, "Officer, why'd you pull me over?" He said, "I didn't think I was speeding or doing anything wrong." He said, "Sir," he said, "I pulled you over because back at that other red light, your wife fell out of the car." He said, "Well, thank God." He goes, "What do you mean, thank God?" He goes, "For a minute there, I thought I'd gone deaf."
Yeah.
Look at Melissa shaking her head. She's like, "Let me get through that screen."
So my grandfather, my grandmother both passed away, but when they were still around, so my grandpa's chair was right here, and then there was a side table, and then the couch was right here, and my grandmother would always sit on the couch right here, and my grandfather would sit in his chair right here. Well, he was hard of hearing in this ear, and he said he was blessed with that for a reason.
Oh man.
Now, I'm just going to put this out. I love my wife. I do listen to my wife. Don't take it serious. We're just picking on each other and having
you would if it was true, you wouldn't be able to say it out loud.
Yeah.
Well, I know. So Tom and you guys all know Tom likes to talk, right? You never would have guessed. But when I go to my room at night, like I just want to lay down and read on my iPad or listen to whatever video I have. So I usually put like my earbuds in. And he'll like start talking to me. So I'll have to stop, pause my thing, take my earbud out. I'm like, what did you say? And he'll say what I talk to him. I'll put my earbud in. I'll start doing my thing again. He'll start I'm like, what do you want? I've been around you all day.
He just wants to talk about the bees.
But yeah, I totally get it. Yeah. He's very quiet, Todd. He rarely says a word.
Yeah. Quiet fella, ain't he?
He's not putting on an act just for us, huh?
Oh, heck no. I mean, plenty of you saw him at Nabi a few weeks ago. You all have proof now. That's how he is.
I didn't see you guys as much as I thought I would, but I guess we were just missing each other a little bit.
Yeah.
It is kind of quiet with Tom not on here tonight, and I enjoy his conversations because he's a lot like Greg Burns. He'll start going down that rabbit hole, and no telling where we'll end up at. So
I know. So sometimes if you notice, I'll just be looking at him like, you are so far off track from the question that they asked you. You need to turn this back around.
Yeah. You can see even me tonight, I've been jumping around on conversation quite a bit. So it's hard for us men to stay on topic for too long and we're on to something else. So
yeah, it's all good.
Exactly. We even heard Spanky talk the other day when Cayman came on. He talked his ear off.
Oh, did he? I didn't hear that.
Yeah.
I missed that. That must have been on
it was on Joey's on Saturday night, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, we had Amber's birthday party, so I didn't get to be a part of that chat. So I was herding a bunch of girls around and sleigh riding and everything else. So it was quite exciting here.
How old is your daughter, Ricky?
She just turned 13.
All right.
Yeah, my oldest one is 22. 23 or 24. I think it's 24. So yeah. So I have an ex-wife that my oldest one's with, and then I was blessed to meet Ruth, and she didn't have no kids, and so we decided to have one. And gotta say, it's the meanest one I've had. She's tough. She likes to beat up on her old dad. Now I tell you. She's definitely got, at 12 years old, she was already acting like a teenager because the talking back has already started, if y'all know what that means.
Yeah, it'll be. You probably got a couple years of that, and then I don't know that it gets better. She just realizes that it's in her best interest to hide it from you. So at least on the surface, she'll be the sweet girl you always knew. But yeah, right around 16 or 17, she'll realize it's in her best interest not to express what she's thinking.
She's getting to where she's beating me at stuff, and I'm taking a beating on that because I don't like to lose. And she's taking it to dad on a lot of stuff now. So, and then with my foot and put a little bit of weight on, she's pretty aggressive. She can get away with a lot.
Well, you just tell her, okay, beat me at beekeeping this year. Let's see how much honey you get.
There we go, Shane. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
How much?
I have to say, the boys were easier than the girl.
How good can you pass that? How good can you paint that box right there?
Smart. Yep. You gotta use those things like that. Sometimes, I used to let her win just so that she'd keep doing something. So now she's figured out that what I'm doing, so she's getting smart with some of this stuff. So got to find some new tactics to get them. So
not ever going to outsmart her. I can tell you that right now. You give up on that.
Brad, you got kids of your own? You got
some kids? Blessed with any.
Well, I'm blessed with none. Well, that may be good. No.
Yep. Can't relate any of those stories. Sorry.
Well, you got brothers and sisters?
I have. Well, I shouldn't say I don't have any. I've got about 5, but they all live in different countries.
Oh wow!
Wow.
We have a few sponsor children in various countries around the world.
So, what are some of the countries? I'd be interested to know.
Oh, now you're going to pin me down.
Yeah.
See, I'll make something up because you'll never tell me I'm wrong.
Nah,
that's right.
We're going to fact check you as soon as the show's over.
I think Central America. I think Nicaragua. I've won.
Okay.
Ecuador, I think, and I've got one that I've had a long time in Burkina Faso, and that's. Oh, I don't know. And there's a couple my wife has, and I'm not sure where they actually have one. I have one in. Well, I had one in India, but India changed the rules, and they won't allow that anymore. So, what did you say, dear? Mauritania is hers.
So, what's the program, Brad?
Well, there's 3 programs that they're spread out among. There's one my wife's sponsor kids are through World Vision. Mm-hmm. That's a big organization. And then I think I have one with it used to be called Christian Children's Fund, and they changed their name. I'm not sure why. I wasn't too happy about the change. They changed it to just Children Believe, which to me doesn't make any sense. And then I have another one, two children with Compassion Canada, and they have a little different model because organizations like Christian Children's Fund and World Vision, they run projects, so they'll run the whole thing, and they'll have schools and clinics and hospitals, and so not hospitals per se, but medical assistants and stuff. Whereas Compassion, they partner with churches in these countries to have, so it's the people on the ground and it's the local communities who run the projects and the programs. And I think both methods work well. I like the compassion model for the fact that the people in the locales take the ownership and
Right.
the control, within reason. They have tight um, requirements that everything is run. They can't get away with any corruption if somebody starts lining their pockets or something. So I like that model too, because it gives the local people a lot of ownership over these programs. So yeah.
Hmm.
So those are
It's
my kids,
interesting.
and then I have a couple of these.
So, do I guess most of you guys know that Jimmy from Jimmy's Neighborhood Bees, right?
Mhm.
He,
Yeah.
when his daughter was younger, they sponsored exchange student almost for like 5 years in a row, I think. So
Wow.
that was pretty cool. He has some pretty good stories about that experience.
I think I've
Yeah.
got my first sponsored child, I think, in 1992.
Wow.
I've had it one or more since. I think I had three when by 2010. I remember I had three, and Carol had two. So it's just been something. I didn't have any of my own, and um, I felt blessed that I was able to get along in the world and make a living, and we all know I'm eating well. So I wanted to just spread the blessings around a little bit.
Now with that sponsorship, do they come stay with you, or is that just a financial thing that you do?
Well, it's primarily a financial thing. They really encourage you to be in touch. There's letters go back and forth and whatnot. I can send pictures, and
Mm-hmm.
the compassion one, they actually are a little more able to have people actually go and visit their sponsor children if they want to, and that's not really the cards for me, but
Yeah.
they do that a lot too. Yeah, I really like that organization. They just seem to be less corporate. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I
Yeah.
mean? They're very personal. I've phoned there a number of times with different things, and they're very helpful and very, if my request doesn't fit in one of the check boxes, they don't just say, "Oh, we don't do that," right? They
Yeah.
still try and do what they can.
Right.
Yeah, that's really nice.
I was a sponsored kid when I was little. So I think from 8 to 10, I had a sponsor and lady, and I remember writing her letters and stuff, thanking her because at Christmas time, I would go get clothes and stuff, and it was very hard for my mom and dad at that time.
Mm,
So mom had lost her job, so I had a sponsor, and I'll never forget that. I'll never forget that lady because it was a blessing to go be able to buy some, I think $100 worth of clothes, which was a lot of money back then.
That's a lot of money back then.
So that's great to hear that you're doing something like that, Brad. I appreciate you doing that, brother. That's awesome.
I really appreciate hearing that testimonial.
Yeah.
Because it's just sending checks and stuff, and but we'll send them extra for Christmas and whatnot, right? So you give the kid $30 for Christmas, and the letter back and say, well, I bought like an entire new wardrobe, and I bought a new bike, and I bought 5 pairs of shoes, and I put $25 in the bank. Like, it's just amazing what
Mm-hmm.
they can, just so little, and it just makes such a huge difference in their life. And I think, well, I can't hardly go out for breakfast for $25, right? And
Yeah.
that maybe makes me happy for a couple hours,
Mm-hmm.
but boy, $25 for one of these kids, that makes their whole year.
Yeah.
Yeah. No doubt.
It's the
That's
small
amazing.
things in life that mean so much, and to have somebody that cares to take a few extra seconds to give you a little money, or or anything, it means so much. I'll even like sometimes I go through drive-through, somebody in front of me might pay for my lunch,
Yeah.
and it's like, wow, that's pretty cool. I didn't have but like $10 in my wallet,
Yeah.
and then when I get some money, sometimes, hey, let's repay that forward, right? Let's do that to somebody else,
Right.
and it's great. I'll tell you one thing. I did that one day, and it ended up being my nephews behind me, and I didn't even know it.
Look at
They
that.
were they were in a friend's car, and my
Ricky was
cousin
like, wait a minute, give me that money back. I didn't mean to do that.
That was
So,
pretty fun.
hey, here,
Sets
you
the
know,
example.
you just give us some money, so or
Yeah.
some free
Yeah,
food. We
yeah.
appreciate that. So,
Well,
Yeah.
I have learned through experience that if you're really given from here, a lot of times, I got to say, a lot of times you'll see things and you question, you think, are they given from the heart, or are they given because maybe coercion? Somebody else is, because somebody's looking at them and they think, well, I better give. That's not really the right reason. Or they're giving so the people will look at them, right? Hey, look what I did, But if you're really truly given from here, it's impossible to give more than you get.
that's
right.
right. It
Because
always come back.
you give what you give, and it'll just come back tenfold on you.
It does. It does.
Right. And
So-
that's just what I've learned from experience.
Yep. That's good,
Yeah.
Brad.
Back when I lived in Louisiana, it's been a long time, but I was in a group, the JCs, and we would have this thing called the Christmas shopping tour, and we would just raise as much money as we could, get donations from businesses, individuals, whatever, and then we would take about $100, sometimes as much as like $120, and we would have that number would be the number of kids we could sponsor, and then we would go take them to, back then it was Kmart. They would close the store down, and then we would just get paired up with a kid and let them go and do Christmas shopping, get whatever they wanted. And then Kmart would like donate 3 or 4 bikes, and they'd call those out on the loudspeaker and all that. But you always wonder when you're giving money to something like that, if it's really getting to where it needs to go or how it's being utilized. The way we did it was we let the teachers in the school systems nominate the students, because the teachers know. They see them every day. They know where those kids are coming from. So that's the way we made 100% sure that the need was there. But these kids would come in. A lot of times their parents gave them a list of stuff they wanted them to buy, and we would just say, put that in your pocket. You're going to buy what you want to buy. This is your day. But almost everyone, like in the 90 percentile of those kids, would always buy for other people before they buy for themselves.
Yeah.
And speaking of giving and stuff, Philip had contacted me and said something about, how are the people in your area? Do they need anything? And, and I'm like, man, we have been so blessed. The money that we raised on Tim and Hannah's channel, the $3,000, we give out new equipment to 3 different beekeepers. They got full hive sets, double deeps, frames, everything that they wanted for their colonies. So not only did they do that, North Carolina Bee Association did the same thing and donated some equipment stuff up here in our area. So I just want to say thank you guys that donated money to that. It was definitely a blessing to us. It was a blessing to be able to give that. I've got some letters that I'm going to send out that people donate. Like I know Tom and Melissa did, and several people here on the chat donating, and Lee donated money. We're going to send a little letter out just saying thank you guys so much for donating. Those people do appreciate it greatly. And hopefully they can recover. And we're doing a little program to maybe do some queens to hand out to those people so they can get some colonies started. That's going to be the hard part, is just getting the bees back. You got the equipment now we're going to get some bees there. So, and I appreciate Philip, kind of reaching out to me again and saying, hey, is everything good there? And so,
yeah, well, I still want the no-lifers to sort of scratch our heads and figure out how we can get some bees to you guys in by middle of April, 1st of May, whenever, that you really need them. So whether that's we figure out how to take bees over there, or maybe we can find a local supplier that will give us a good discount, or if we buy a certain amount, or whatever we need to do, I'd like to come together, because to me, that's when it's really going to be needed. It's good to hear that most of the equipment is getting, recovered, because we could probably help with that too if we needed to. But But yeah, it's
Yeah,
just in its infancy. I want Ricky to, you to kind of handle your area as much as possible, what the need is. I'm also talking to Matt Booth down in the Asheville area,
yeah,
or toward that area. So
and I will say Asheville got hit worse than we did, guys. I mean, we got hit
it's hard to
hard.
believe what the pictures you showed us.
Well, but they got crushed down there.
Yeah.
I mean, you talking about
Yeah.
not having no water in those cities, because we're mountain people, right? We've got wells or springs and stuff like that. They didn't have no water at all, so it was rough for that area down there with no power. But Matt Booth is down there, so he's a great guy with Hives for Heroes. If there's something that you want to give a place to go, we had a bee meeting with my group last night. There was 6 of us there, and that's one of the things we're going to do is queen rearing and just give out queens. I think that's a really good thing to do, and it's easy to get a frame of bees from somebody, slap a queen in there, and let that colony grow. So that's kind of what we got in mind right now. And Philip, I'll get up with you a little bit later, and we'll maybe talk a little bit more if we want to get some bees up here to these people. I do appreciate that, Philip. I appreciate you reaching out to us. That's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, and the difficult thing could be that, when it's time to buy bees, a lot of times, especially if it's as bad as Brad was telling us, they may be a little scarce. Who knows? I hope they're not. But we probably need to make some of those contacts, because I don't mind selling a nuke here and then buying a nuke over there to give to you guys. That's the same as me putting it in the truck and driving it over, right? So
yeah, it's a little bit of a long drive. But I want to tell you from the mountain people up here, we appreciate you guys, and God has definitely helped people out up in this area, and I thank you guys so much. It's been awesome. So
going off that, Philip, has
well,
anybody seen what people are advertising nukes selling for this year?
I have not.
I've seen, I know what we're selling ours for, and I've seen Man Lake, in Dedant, but they're only advertising packages right now. I haven't seen much of the major companies advertising nukes.
Are your nuke and package prices generally fairly close, or are they?
They're about between $40 and $50 apart.
Yeah.
So a nuke
at least
is more.
A nuke is definitely more.
Yeah. Ours pretty well run par, but that's because our packages come from a long ways away, so a lot of it's shipping, right?
Yeah.
So they pretty much follow the same pricing. We're looking at $350 this year.
Wow.
What?
Yeah.
$350?
Yeah. Well, I just saw some U.S. package prices, and by the time I would ship them and convert the money and everything, they'd be running $250 to like my dollars, right?
Yeah.
So it's not a huge difference.
Yeah. I know the bee supply has their prices out, and they were like $200 for nukes if you bought them last fall. But right now they're probably $235 or $240. But they also this year they started doing bulk bee prices. So if you buy,
I'm looking at some
more,
prices.
One
1 to 25 quantity, $165 for packages. April 10th. Missouri.
Wow, Brian, he's lucky. Look at that price. $150 to $155. Wow. For a nuke.
Wow, that's cheap.
For whatever reason, those Southern Mississippi and South Louisiana, $150, $175 is really what we're at 200 to 225 in my area.
Yeah, we're about
that's about what we are too.
I'm going to sell mine for 200.
So we're selling our
I don't have much to offer other than their open mated queens.
We're selling our 2025 nukes for 200 and our overwintered nukes for 225.
Hey, Todd, you have to buy that warranty. That doesn't come with it. Well, they have a 30-day warranty, but you can buy a warranty from them. I think it's like $90 though. And if your bees live, they give you half of it back, and if the bees die, they replace the bees.
What if your bees fly away?
They'll replace them then too.
Really?
If you don't have live bees in the hive, they'll replace them the next year.
That seems like I don't know. I don't know about that deal for them. Is
Looks like
anybody
no way.
like where's your proof? You know what I mean?
Well, no, that they do ask for pictures, and you probably have to sign a little affidavit or something.
Yeah.
I got pictures, a lot of empty equipment.
Right, that's what I'm saying. I think that they're on the losing end for that deal.
No, it's a
That'd
pretty good deal for them. They do sell good. I will tell you, I bought 2 queens from them. They do sell quality.
Good frames and a queen.
So
We-
the people
I think
selling
it
a
was
frame
this-
and a queen, just a frame and a queen. Is that what DC saying? That'd be kind of interesting.
Well,
No,
we
Nancy
had
does that, or does the frame or 2 frames and a queen, I think.
we had one guy this summer buy. I don't even know how many he bought, but he bought a ton of frames with bees and brood from Tom because that's what he was going to do. He was just going to take 2 frames and throw a queen in and make a bunch of mini splits with them, basically.
Yeah, somebody was telling me you could get $30 or $40 a frame if it has bees on it.
I think he was selling them for like $40 or $50 a frame with bees and brood.
Wow.
Yeah, frame of brood here is generally $50 or so. Just a frame of brood.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Don't you
interesting.
have to have bees on it to? They'd be dead, wouldn't they, if they don't have bees
Well,
on them?
I don't go in those circles, so I don't know about transport. I don't know how they do that.
Well, I mean, if you
You
think
could
about
transport
it,
that if it was, if you kept the temperature correct, you could
Right.
transport that.
Put it in a
you're
little
you're
incubator.
selling that in the middle of summer. They're not going to get chilled that fast.
Yeah,
True.
yeah.
Yeah.
The best thing to do is put a little hot water bottle in there, and
Mhm.
kind of have it sitting on top, and that'll keep them warm. So
Yep.
Probably, I'm thinking about a presentation Randy Oliver did, and he talked a lot about people coming to pick up. Well, it was queens, and they'd try to coach them as to what to bring, and people would have a cooler, a cooler for drinks and whatnot, and they would put a hot water bottle, something in there, and they have a thermometer, a little laser thermometer thing, and they'll open it up and click, and if it's too hot, they'll start. And generally, he said they're too hot. I think for manageable periods of time, even adult queens will fare okay in a cooler environment.
it's interesting. I didn't know that. That's good.
Yeah,
information.
colder is better than hotter. That's for sure for the bees
I believe it is. Yeah,
not for the brood, but for the bees itself, it's the best thing you can do. Have them nice and
even
cool.
the brood a little bit, I would say, because
As long as it has bees on it, I
they
guess.
do, even the pupa, they do generate some heat.
Mhm.
They do. I'm not talking about extreme temperatures, but I mean, if you're trying to zero in on something, I'd say, err on the side of cooler, right?
For sure.
Not
Gary,
a lot.
I agree with you on the combs. You sell a lot of nicks, you ain't got a lot of combs left, and I think Tom did the same thing I did. I had one colony. I just fed this colony, and I let them draw comb out, and I just took it off, set it to the side. If it had any nectar in it, I just let the other bees rob it out, and then I'd throw another box on there, draw comb out, and just store it. I felt like that was the best way to get me enough comb to do nukes and stuff this year was to build a lot of comb. So, and I just fed that colony. Yeah.
Well, that's why one of the things that Tom always says, like his main focus isn't necessarily just honey production, because he does a lot of comb building. We do a lot of comb building every year just so we can, do nukes and things like that. So we have extra combs, and so we can cycle out old comb and, damaged comb or, whatnot. It's the whole, it's not just honey production you need to be concerned with sometimes.
Well, the honey production kind of follows, right? if you're trying to
Well, I always call the
trying to
honey.
make
Honey's
honey,
like the byproduct of having bees, is what I
it
always
kind of
say.
is, yeah, because they're going to make honey anyway, right?
Yeah,
And if you have the
exactly.
drawn comb, then that's going to augment your honey production. So
Exactly.
Yep.
yeah, that's what I tell people, don't you worry. You concentrate on comb, put your foundation out at the beginning of the honey flow, right?
Mhm.
Don't wait until the end, because it ain't broad at the end. Put it out there right at the beginning. Get a bunch of comb drawn.
Yeah.
And if you've got leftover wax from the year before, take those plastic
Put it on
frames and
frame.
just coat the snot out of them. Man, it makes
You
it so
betcha.
easy on the bees. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I've been doing that for a few years, and boy, when I started doing that, it was just like magic.
Yeah, I did that this year.
Put a
And it was
nicely
just
waxed frame in there, and about a day they pulled that out to the extent of the wax that's on it. It's crazy.
It is. It is absolutely amazing. And it's so pretty, clean and drawn out, so yeah. Well, it is almost 10 o'clock. I'm going to go ahead and call it for the night. Brad, I appreciate you coming on, brother, and being with us. It was great talking to you.
Hey,
Please come back.
it was fun.
And Philip, having you on, brother. As always, it's a pleasure having you. So you guys in the chat, you guys are absolutely a blessing. Appreciate you coming out and listening to us and having a chat with us. And, we'll see what happens next Thursday. And hopefully our bees will be still there with all this cold weather coming through. So anyway, God bless, and we'll see you next Thursday.
Night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.